Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sandeep Gorodia welcoming you all for this webinar. A small introduction about myself. I've been with a part of ICICI Lombard family since the last 19 years, and I'm taking care of the corporate business. What we felt was that it was getting very difficult to meet clients physically in this current environment, and hence we thought of leveraging technology and organized this webinar. So, this is going to be a 60-minute event where we are going to have a panel discussion with the senior dignitaries of ICICI Lombard. These senior dignitaries are going to speak about various topics of interest and curiosity, which all of you all have. So broadly, they are going to touch upon three major areas. The first one is the impact that we are going to see on the economy because of the COVID-19 in general, and specifically what is the impact of COVID-19 on the insurance sector. The second aspect is going to be on risk management. What are the aspects that ICICI Lombard has? What are the initiatives that we as a company has come out with on risk management as well as the technology initiatives? And the third segment, which is the most important, is basically to address the various questions that we have got from various clients across the country. So what we have done is we have taken questions from all of you across the country, and I would be asking these questions on behalf of all of you to this panel that we have in front of us today. So without taking too much of time, let me invite and introduce the panel that we have for today. Let me introduce to you Mr. Alok Agarwal. He is the Executive Director at ICICI Lombard, and he started his career with ICICI Bank more than 25 years back and has been a part of the founding team at ICICI Lombard. On a personal level, he is an avid enthusiast for Bollywood as well as cricket, and he loves practicing yoga also on a daily basis. Next in line, we have Mr. Sanjay Datta. He's the Chief of Underwriting and Claims and Reinsurance at ICICI Lombard. He's again a veteran in the insurance industry space, more than 30 years of experience. He started his career with Oriental Insurance, and then he joined ICICI Lombard as a founding team way back in 2001. On a personal level, he is very much interested in getting deep into the historical events which has happened in the past, and also exploring newer locations and destinations. We also have amongst us Mr. Gaurav Arora. He is the head of underwriting and claims and customer service at ICICI Lombard. He started a journey with ICICI Lombard 19 years back, part of the founding member team. He has handled various roles on risk. He handles property, marine, liability, anything and everything which is related to property. Gaurav is the go-to man for us. So that is the distinguished panel that we have in front of us, and I think it is now time for us to move ahead and hear the views that they have on various aspects. So first, I will start with Alok. Alok, we have been hearing a lot. There are a lot of articles that we keep on getting in terms of the impact which the COVID-19 is going to have on the Indian economy. So we would like to hear your views on the same in general, and specifically, we also if you can share your views on what is the impact of COVID-19 on the general insurance sector.
So thank you, Sandeep, for the introduction. And we all have been reading a lot in the last 1 month or 1.5 months that this lockdown has been there. And people have been predicting various kinds of turnarounds over the next 3 to 6 months. Some people are saying that once the lockdown opens, there will be a V-shaped recovery. Some people have been talking about a U-shaped recovery. Some people say that the things will change for a long time and there will be some kind of an L-shaped recovery. If you ask me, this is going to impact almost all the industries. Some industries will be impacted a little more than the other industries, and the recovery should be a U-shaped recovery, although the base of the U can be a bit prolonged depending on the duration of the lockdown. If we take experience from the past, and such a large event happened only in the 20th century, either if you look at the Spanish flu or the Great Recession which happened, in both cases when the recovery happened, it was almost a V-shaped recovery. But here today it's a very interconnected world, and therefore everybody is impacting everybody else. As more and more time is going on, people are saying that the industries which were relatively less impacted to begin with will also start getting impacted. Yesterday there was a analyst call by Axis Bank, and where there also they mentioned that the banking sector is also going to be deeply impacted, and there will be NPAs in the banking sector. Given this situation, we have to make the best out of it and work such that the turnaround is faster and we can make the best out of the situation. Some things will change forever, and the work from home and the use of technology, etc., will be there for a long period of time, and therefore the way things will, once the lockdown opens and things start coming to normalcy, some things will change forever, but that may be for good only.
So thanks, Alok. I think your views have really set the context for the next 45 minutes or so for this session. So we will come back to you, Alok. Let me move this discussion forward and go to Sanjay. Sanjay, over the last few weeks, we have seen a huge financial meltdown, happening across various stock markets across the country, as well as, across the globe. We have seen a huge, value erosion happening for various corporates, including insurers as well as reinsurers. So in this kind of a global turmoil, how do you see the entire reinsurance market? How reinsurance companies are, strong enough to ensure that the protection is there on the balance sheet of the corporate clients, and at the same time as to how is ICICI Lombard protecting the risk of its own corporates and its own balance sheets?
Thank you very much, Sandeep, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining this seminar. It's a privilege to be together on this particular issue and discussing our views. A lot of uncertainty, so hence it's time to discuss and rethink our thoughts and maybe modes of operation, as Alok talked about, going forward. Having said that, at this time, when a crisis of this magnitude happens, be it a crisis due to a pandemic or due to a natural catastrophe like an earthquake or a flood or something, it is important that we follow the insurance sector needs to follow the analogy of mother and a child in an aircraft. So when an oxygen, the aircraft is in turbulence and the oxygen mask, drops, you need to have the mother putting on the mask, yourself, first, then putting it on the child. So we have that same kind of relationship with the people who transfer all their risk to us on balance sheet risk items like, catastrophes and various other health risk of pandemics and all of that. At that time, we have, like you correctly said, we need to be very, very, safe ourselves for us to be able to help others. If we go down, there is no point in, having, insurance or reinsurance for that matter. The same matter happens with reinsurance. When we also look back at people whom we transfer some of our risks and spread it across the world, that's the whole idea of reinsurance, not, but diversify the risk across the world. It is important that the reinsurers themselves remain strong. They also put on their oxygen mask before they come and help us. And so that matter, let me try to assure the group here, as far as ICICI Lombard and some of the panel of reinsurers who are concerned, we have very clearly focused on not only increasing our strength in terms of our solvency position and various other metrics of competitiveness and strength and sustainability, but also in terms of the panel of reinsurers we need to have. So at no time we have we have compromised on that. That's the most important risk, credit risk in these kind of times. When something like a near black swan event happens, credit risks are the most important. 2008 we also saw that there was huge credit risk. We had some turbulence in the reinsurance world. Thankfully, they all recovered. Some of that turbulence in the reinsurance world did not come because of the reinsurance or insurance operations, came from the investment side. So again, the world ran from that. The reinsurers learned from that. This time, when we look back and checked with all our reinsurers whom we reinsure, both the rating agencies AM Best and S&P have maintained stable outlook for all our reinsurers on our panel. We have typically reinsurers who are A- and above, and we've increased our panel to include a lot of AA plus reinsurers this time. And the idea was to make sure that we are, are much more safer during these kind of times when we need to be safe ourselves to help our clients. And finally, the only impact which is thought of would be, as of now, In the reinsurance world, there could be a impact around $40 billion is what they're talking about, which tomorrow, if it at the most it could climb towards $75 billion. That's the kind of hit the reinsurance world took. And when Hurricane Katrina happened, that's one of the biggest hits which happened from a reinsurance perspective. So I think they were able to manage that, and they were all solvent. There were no issues with the major reinsurers. To that extent, we are reassured at this point of time. Of course, things will unfold as we go forward. As far as we are concerned, just to put a long story short, we are ready. We've been prepared for these moments. We've scaled up precisely from 2001 and onwards. We've managed to, keep our expenses low. Our ability to be able to give the right cover so that we are able to pay those claims when they occur. From both on the health side, let me assure you, and anything which comes through later on catastrophes or other events, we are well placed to take care of our the trust which the clients have put in us. Thanks.
So Sanjay, thanks a lot for your views, and I completely agree with you. And your analogy about the aircraft, situation is very apt in the current scenario. I'm sure all of us would agree that the insurer has to be very, very strong. First of all, for them to ensure that if there is any eventuality or any kind of a claim incidence, the insurer needs to be strong enough to pay back the corporates and ensure the continuity of those businesses of those clients. Taking the discussion forward, I'll go to Gaurav. Gaurav, we have been hearing a lot in the last few weeks about the unoccupancy clause, which basically states that if a property is unoccupied or unoperational for about 30 odd days, the coverage, you need to take a separate approval from the insurers for the continuity of the coverage. We have also seen the views of GIC Council as well as GIC Re on this particular aspect. But it would be very good for all our clients to hear what is the stance of ICICI Lombard and what is ICICI Lombard really doing in order to ensure the continuity of business beyond those lockdown period gets over.
Thanks, Sandeep, for putting out this question to me, and a very warm welcome to all the customers who are listening to us today. I believe you and your families would be safe at wherever you are. Now, to answer this specific question, Sandeep, I would like to reiterate what the policy specific condition is. And its condition is same in both fire as well as the industrial law risk policies. The condition says that any plant or premises which is unoccupied for a period of 30 days, it will automatically that particular period. But if the unoccupancy goes beyond that 30 days, then the risk ceases to exist. And the customers have approached the insurance companies for a cover. Now, in this matter, long amount of deliberations with the reinsurer and the council. The initial which we had received from the insurer was that up to 5 crores of sum insured, all assets and premises is covered. Beyond that, specific approvals need to be taken by the insurance company. Now, to this circular, there is a recent amendment which says up to 3rd of May, all risks which are under the shutdown or unoccupied would automatically be held covered. So all premises up to 3rd of May falling under the fire policies would be covered under the policy. But I would like to reiterate over here, there are approximately 400 customers who have approached for this deviation of the condition, and we have given them the what we are giving the approval at our end. We are not restricting it only 3rd of May, saying up till the period of a lockdown over, you would continue to be held to be covered. So while the council condition is 3rd May, I would request all the customers to approach us who are on occupancy or who are under the shutdown right now, so that we can keep them covered up to the period the lockdown is going to continue, as in what period continues. The second is in effect of the project policies and the engineering policies. In the engineering policy, the condition is that cessation of work is not. Now, primarily this lockdown or unoccupancy actually leads to a cessation of work when it comes to the project policies. The clarification in which we are passing out to all our customers who are into infrastructure business or into project insurance, that the cessation of work, we would continue to cover it as long as the lockdown continues. However, if there is any abandonment of work subsequent to the lockdown is opened up and they abandon infrastructure projects, that would not be covered under the policies. but any cessation of work during the lockdown would be covered under the policy. All insurance during lockdown period need to basic precautions, safety measures are in place so actually safeguard their risk to the extent they are capable and they are possible. It is possible for them to it out. So all basic risk management practices should be in place for them. Thanks, Sandeep.
Yeah, so Gaurav, I think that should be music to ears for all our clients. This should give a lot of assurance to clients that, till 3rd of May and beyond, till such time the lockdown is kind of there, the coverage continues. Taking the discussion forward, I'll go back to Alok. Where we would just want to take his views, referring to the discussion of Sanjay, where he shared his views about the strength of various insurance and reinsurance companies, which is very important to ensure the protection to clients. So Alok, are you seeing that, in the current scenario where the solvency and liquidity could be an issue to some of the insurance companies in India, are you seeing aggregation of businesses to those insurers who are having a strong brand and having a strong balance sheet in India?
So any financial services company, for that matter, is vulnerable to capital inadequacy in case of such kind of events. But talking about insurance companies specifically, people in this kind of scenario know that every company will be impacted sooner or later. So they want to be safer with their assets and with their any kind of services they are taking from such company, and they tend to move to companies who they believe are financially strong or who have a stronger recall value or have a stronger brand. So in the last 2 months or so, we have seen that people are veering towards us for various kinds of products. Of course, the demand for different products are different. For example, the demand for health product in this time and era has increased many folds. And the demand for protection as far as property is concerned is also high. Whereas the things which are relatively impacted, like transportation of goods, etc., there the demand has been relatively muted. But I can safely say that the companies companies which have a strong balance sheet and a strong brand will have an advantage during this era.
Actually, I couldn't agree more, Alok, with you. We have been in touch with various clients across the country, and we have seen more and more requirements or more and more interest which various corporates are showing to move from their current insurer to ICICI Lombard. We have seen that in the last couple of months. So couldn't agree with you more on that, Alok, with you. Going back to Sanjay and taking the discussion forward, Sanjay, when we looked at the number of queries that we received and questions that we received, one of the biggest queries that we received was on the solutions that we as an industry can offer to clients on the pandemic nature of the risk. To take the discussion forward, before we take the discussion forward, I'll just give a background to our viewers. Is that currently we have material damage covers which are available, and you have business interruption covers following up material damage. But currently we don't have any coverage for business interruption because of any incidents which is not affecting the property physically. So none of the non-damage BIs are currently offered. So the biggest query which we are getting from our clients is that, is there any solution which the insurance industry can think of in order to provide risk against such kind of pandemic situations?
Thank you, Sandeep. This is the question of the hour. I think we think of such covers when we are in the midst of such situations. It's a big learning for us. Obviously, as an industry and as a as the corporate world, we should have kind of thought about it much earlier, in terms of progression. But to be very fair to the Indian market itself is trying to develop business interruption coverage. So we've just scratching the surface, even in terms of damage, BI, which you talked about. So not only the large corporates and few of the mid-sized corporates, the vast majority of MSMEs don't have business interruption coverage, even for physical damage, which is much more likely to happen because it can be triggered by act of God or even a fire or something, which is much more likely. So that that's one part. The other part which comes to it is non-damage insurance business interruption due to something like a pandemic. It's important to understand the nature of a pandemic and what it does from a stoppage perspective. Unlike a particular event like a terrorism event or a nuclear, let's say nuclear incident, uh, the event itself gets, it's very, very severe in terms of what it does in terms of economic damage, but it gets restricted to very few clients. So let's say if you have, let's say about 1 lakh clients in India who could potentially take business interruption cover. But if they, we have a huge number of clients in India who all take, terrorism cover. But the way insurance works is the probability of everybody getting hit is very, very low. It's extremely low, next to negligible. The probability that a few of them will get hit and could for large, sums of money. We paid about 700 crores, if you recall, during the Taj incident of terrorism in Mumbai.
Yeah.
We've also, as an industry, and why did the terrorism pool get started? Exactly the reason why, pandemic needs to get started in India, because of the fact that international coverage for such risks were difficult to, get by after 2001. But, just to go back to the point, terrorism and nuclear pool events are single events which affect very few, clients, and it's a very, very severe incident. But when we talk of pandemic, the likelihood, as Alok, just described, every sector, gets affected by it. The severity of the impact, it differs from, sector to sector because of how, this plays out in different industries. There is also a lot of interconnectedness to this event because a lot of people, a lot of, corporates are suppliers to some other industries. So there is a domino effect, in this particular event, which doesn't happen in other, like a flood or an earthquake or something. The domino effect plays through; it affects everyone. Because of this nature, I think we at CC were the first one, to really, think ourselves, think in terms of what should we do to be able to even start something like a terrorism pool in 2001 when it got started in India. And with very low, maybe albeit with low, sum insured and low limits, and then, try to develop it over a period of time. What is coming through very, very significantly is that, of course, we would need, there could be two types of coverage. For the large corporates, their need for BI is much more substantial than for a small corporate or a micro, SME. They could be very different. Both the ways in which it's structured, it could be different. The second important thing which is coming up, because everybody is going to get affected, the amount of payout for a single event like a pandemic, while it is rare, very rare, it could be, the next one could be another very, very rare event, just like, the Spanish flu was, and now, we are facing it now. But given the interconnected nature of the globe and the amount of global trade and, supply, kind of linkages, the impact will be much more than Spanish flu this time. And, and going forward, it will much more. So the nature of the pool needs to be big. And we realized that the insurance industry can really, with the help of everyone, contributing to this pool, like the way we do for terrorism. And it's an important balance sheet risk item because we need to now, we have learned from this and we need to, form this pool. We can take it up to a certain limit in terms of coverage, but of course we would need a lot of government support, not only in terms of, premium subsidy if we can get it from a pool like a, National Disaster Relief Fund, but also from a government backstop perspective, which is prevalent in some of the other countries. They're trying to do it the same way. That above a certain claims, limit, let's say 300% or whatever it is, what we are able to construct, the, government steps in. Reinsurance capacity for pandemic at this moment, because we're in the midst of the fire, is very, very, is next to absent. We've explored it both on the health and the property side. Nobody's willing to, give capacity at this point of time. But after it ends, there could be a, good attempt to, we should try to form this particular pool.
Yeah, so I think again this is good news in that sense because happy to note that the industry is at least started to think in the direction of giving some kind of a pandemic solution. Though it might be a little bit midterm point of view, but at least there's a thought process which is getting developed in that direction. So I'm sure the clients are happy to note that fact. Going forward, I'll again go back to Gaurav. The second biggest query that we received was fundamentally on claims. I think the biggest apprehension which is there in the client's mind as to in the current kind of a scenario, if there is a claim eventuality, how prepared is ICICI Lombard to handle the claims? Okay, that is one. And secondly, what is the leverage that you have on technology, which you are using to address some of these concerns which our clients have. So you are mute, Gaurav. We cannot hear you.
Deep for putting it across to me. If you look at claims, I think it is business as usual as far as the claims go for us. We continue to receive claims of similar nature the way we were receiving in a pre-lockdown scenario. However, a couple of aspects which I would like to share out over here is that we may see a claim increase happening because of the plant shutdowns which is really happening, both particularly because of the shutdown of the plants as well as of the startup of the plants. So the risk factors increase during the shutdown and the startup operations, and we may see some of the claims happening during this particular period. The second aspect is we have seen some of the theft and the burglary claims really coming out this particular period due to the unoccupancy of the premises, primarily in some of the warehouses or the project insurance policies. Now, as far as we are concerned, we continue to operate and handle the claims the way we used to do it in the pre-lock-in scenario. Only the methodology, I think, has been changed for us at our end. So today, we are capable of handling most of the service remotely. Most of the physical sites are not being touched physically, but we are assessing the losses remotely. I would like to give you an example out over here that recently, a couple of days back, there was a claim, and we had flight a drone out over there to do the entire recording of the premises, fire in the premises, and what and which item was damaged, with zooming in the specific those specific areas which had got damaged, gave us quite a clear evidence as to the details which had damaged. Secondly, we have tied up with those loss adjusters specifically across the country, where we know they would be able to use our platforms which we have developed and virtually carry out the remote surveys. So while surveys are also under the lockdown, but they are able to carry out the virtual surveys with us. The third is that we have actually categorized all the zones into the 3 zones as rising out of the government: the green, orange, and the red zone. Green are the zones where we continue to do our surveys on a physical format also, whether it's the marine losses or the property losses. Orange and the red are the ones which we are handling on a virtual basis. What we have also done, we believe that there would be liquidity crisis and financial issues to the customer during this particular period of a time. And what we are doing at our end is we are looking at faster ways of settlement of all our claims at our end. So wherever the reinstatement has been completed to a very large extent, we are looking at settling the entire claim, and we are looking for the balance reinstatement to happen. Wherever the reinstatement has not happened, we are looking at doing settlements on a market value basis at our end. But each and every customer who's putting a claim on us, and there is a claim which is getting reported which is admissible under the policy, we are ensuring that we make on-account payments and interim payments during this particular period to keep the client up and running during this period. What we have also done is we have gone quite a large extent possible on flexible on the documentation aspect. Most of the documents, we have created a platform again over here where the customers can upload all the documents on our claim web-based system, and those documents would be available to the surveyor based upon which they can assess the losses. Wherever documents are not available, we are looking at the appropriate or the optional the set of documents which can be asked for the documents in replacement of the documents which are not really available. To give you an instance, we have started taking the NOC from the bank through on the mails. Generally, it was on the letterheads which we used to take. We have started taking it on the mails. The subrogation letter used to come on the stamp papers or the relevant documents. We have only taking an acceptance on mails that he's subrogating his rights, and once a document he's in the situation to get a physical document, you would be collecting the physical documents. Similarly, the discharge vouchers, we are taking consent on mails from the customer as in waiting for the physical documents are at our end. So these are some of the practices which we are putting in place, which is allowing us to survey, assess, and pay the losses digitally at our end.
So I think excellent, Gaurav. I think the way in which you have articulated must give a lot of comfort to all of us, including all of our clients. In fact, I would also like to share one experience. I think in the last few days, we have, I and Gaurav had, various webinars with a few clients, and the discussion was specifically on claims. and across the discussion we could close certain claims, and the amount has also got transferred. This was really very well appreciated by those clients, because this was the time when they needed the funds the most, and Gaurav and his team has been able to deliver that in a very very quick time. So great. So taking the discussion forward, I'll go back to Alok. Alok, now that there is a lot of talk in terms of graded opening up of the economy, we have to see how each of the states kind of decide. But there is definitely a lot of talk around opening up the economy slowly and steadily in a graded manner. So what, according to you, is going to be the change in terms of the behavior of clients when they actually start purchasing insurance? What are the broad parameters that they will look at before judging or selecting an insurance company?
So the basics will remain the same. The one of the points that I had earlier mentioned, that they will continue to look at the quality of the insurance company in terms of their balance sheet strength and brand. The second most important thing is our basic product is claims. So as Gaurav mentioned, we have been going progressively to the clients, and the old claims are being settled, even with alternate documents which are replacing the documents which are not possible during this lockdown. So our initiative has been to settle the claims progressively, and we believe that the companies who does that, settle claims faster, settle claims in a very proactive manner, will benefit tremendously, because the clients will believe that these are the people who are there with us at the time of difficulty. The third thing is that there will be clients who will have various requirements when they are opening up, as to what kind of advisory the insurance company gives. What are the startup challenges that they may face when they start up again? So what are the do's and don'ts once they start up again? Because the ways of doing business might change after the lockdown is over. So those companies which understand the risk very well, the understand of reopening risk, startup risk, all these things, and can give good advisory services. In such situations, those companies who anyway have a good risk management team, who can provide value-added services for at the time of shutdown as well as reopening, will become more important than just pricing and whether they are settling. So because people face few claims, there are some corporates who face few and large claims intermittently. So they, in the short run, they don't experience any claim experience from the insurance company. But now, without this claim experience, also they can judge the insurance company based on the advisory services that the insurance company provides during this period.
Yeah, so I think Alok, again, taking this clue from what you just discussed. In the past we have seen various clients distributing their risk across various insurance companies. So we have this entire co-insurance arrangement which is there, and there is a co-insurance agreement in terms of settlement of premium and claims. Do you see that entire approach towards co-insurance might change going forward?
So earlier it used to so happen that many companies used to choose a few companies for lead. So for example, there were one or two companies who were large and who had a strong balance sheet, who would always compete for leadership in the client. And generally it was the smaller companies, smaller insurance companies who used to be given small shares based on some kind of broker preference or individual preferences across the industry. I think that now the client will decide to choose 2 or 3 insurers, all of them who have a strong balance sheet, all of them who have a strong brand, all of them who have a strong claims paying capability, all of them who have a strong technology background, so and those who have a good advisory capability, and choose those 2 or 3 companies that he wants to diversify his risk with. I don't think the client will choose to diversify across 5-6 companies, which includes a few very small companies.
Yeah. So that seems to be the trend which might actually happen once the lockdown opens up. So taking a clue from what Alok just mentioned about risk management, I will go to Sanjay to hear his views as to how important risk management is going to be going forward, and how I would say ready or prepared is ICICI Lombard to offer support to clients on their risk management journeys.
That's again, very, very topical, Sandeep. Just hit the nail on the head. Going ahead, risk management in the way we traditionally think of, fire safety hazards and all that will always continue to be important, and making sure that, we make the, factory safe from a fire and other perspectives, that'll always remain. But that is just like sanitation at our homes and offices, we always need to be sanitized. But, the more important risk and management, thinking and the thought which the clients need to have is how will their supply chain now change radically, given that we are, changing from just in time supply chains to, to a supply chain where we are, absolutely, sure that the supply chain will work. It could work to local supply chains. It could work to, very, very, good supply chains which are there, which are, important for me to understand which supply chains will work or not work. The nature of supply chain changing will be a very, very far-reaching impact which will have from a risk prevention perspective. Like everyone talked about, diversification and, things, Alok talked about diversification amongst insurers. Even in supply chain, diversification is very, very important. Where will they come from, and where we could work a lot, on that aspect, and that's one thing which is going to be extremely important as covers for supply chain disruption and others become extremely important going forward. But that's the second order. Most important is risk prevention. How do you do that? One aspect. The second part, and which is going to be extremely important from the fact that we are now going to be very, very seamless as far as, working from home, from our offices. Lot of corporates who are in manufacturing would like to, because of the various nature of the way, we are changing, would want more automation. We want distancing, and the amount of supervision could get much more automated. And given all of that, the risk of cyber, goes up exponentially. So we need to, that's where risk prevention will play a very, very important part. We have to understand the nature of, the chain which will cause up, cyber risk disruptions, because as we move across our supply chains right into home and various other aspects. So that's the second part which we need to be, working on from a risk prevention perspective. And third, and the most important, while, it's, I'm sure the client will take care of it, and we did have a health seminar on that. It's important to take care of the employee, safety and security. This is going to be extremely important, not only because, we need to take care of the employees. We also need to take care of the fact that there could be liability arising out of it. So the second part is, we need to be conscious of the health risk and the liability arising thereof. But we may feel that it may not come, but, it's important to be very, very conscious of that fact. The people who are there. And so these three aspects of the way risk prevention will change. We are ready. One of the key parts of our service will be on supply chain in terms of logistics and various other aspects which are important. We will, through our VAS services, we're happy to help. Similarly, on engineering projects, on various new changes which come in. And on the health and the other side, we have now kind of done an app where we are, it's called I'll Take Care, where we start on the whole risk prevention journey on the health side, which is also linked to your personal effects like motor and other. And as far as cyber is concerned, they keep saying, either you are hacked or waiting to be hacked. So security, you have to be paranoid about cyber security. And for that, we not only have, experts who can, help you with that, but also, be able to give covers, where necessary.
So Sanjay, good that you touched upon health as well as liability. We will talk and take views from you as well as Alok on health and liability a little later. But I think you touched upon a very, very important aspect, which is on prevention. And there is no doubt that at the end of the day, it is all about prevention. But, at the same time, clients would definitely require a lot of support and knowledge in order to do best risk management, activities. So I'll go to Gaurav and take his views on what kind of risk management services, risk management solutions and products that we have developed over a period of time, which can be offered to clients at this point in time.
Sure, Sandeep. As far as risk management goes, risk management continues to be an important aspect for us. At the end, we are the risk carriers, and it is our responsibility to engage with our customers and ensure that their risks are well protected and they are safe when it comes to the operating environments. There are a lot of activities which we are doing, but more particularly, I would talk about how are we handling risk during a post-lockdown period, and essentially what are some of the services which we are really building out at our end. Primarily, we have built up risk advisory notices in respect of very specific industries, which we are sharing with our customers and looking at what are the aspects which need to be really be taken care of. Some of the aspects which we would look from a risk management perspective would be how to ensure plant safe shutdown really happens around. During the shutdown, what is the preservation and how the preservation of the plant really takes place. Again, during the preservation of the plant, there is an important recommendation which is also coming from our reinsurers, what that fire and the safety mode should be in an operative mode and continue to be operating. So how do we ensure that the relevant fire and the safety systems are in place and that they are operating? Again, post the lockdown, when the plants go on, when plants start up, there is a significant risk which increases and arises to the startup, and hence it is important all the practices and the guidelines as laid down by the respective OEMs are adopted and followed. And this is where we pitch in to ensure and look at what are the safe risk management practices for the startups of the particular plants. The last but not the least thing which we are also doing at our end is looking at the industrial hygiene and the stress, because we believe during this particular period the skill set labor would be available in a limited way. There would be a shortfall of the labor which would be there, and there can be significant pressure and the stress on these laborers also. And how do we ensure account for that and manage that are some of the aspects which we are really looking at. The other important aspect which I wanted to share with you is that we have also moved from physical risk inspection to carrying out virtual risk inspections. So during the lockdown period of the last 30-35 days, we have touch based and connected with close to 50 of our corporate customers where we have inspected these risks remotely. And when we are saying they're inspecting these risks remotely, it's not only from a physical inspection perspective, but the entire risk engagement practices which can be adopted and followed in the various modes and the various platforms are being discussed and engaged with them. And some of the large corporate customers have got in touch with us, whether in respect to the fire audits, whether in respect to the electrical safety measures, whether it's in respect of the energy management, whether it's in respect of the maintenance practices which can be adopted during the lockdown period. There's a whole amount of activities which we are really discussing with them. The last, again, an aspect which I wanted to share about is in respect of there are two critical safety measures which we have built up, adopted, and implementing it with some of our large customers again, which is in respect of the IoT devices, more particularly related to the hydrant systems and the electric systems. Now, when we carry out a large amount of inspections, we figure out these hydrant systems are in place, but they are not in operating conditions. A lot of focus goes on the risk management of the plants, but the safety precautions get missed out. This is where this IoT device really helps us out, which is linked to the control panel, and it monitors the hydrant pressures on a remote basis. So every time there is a trip and a jockey pump or the valve starts or there is a leakage in terms of the valves or the pipes because of the rusting and the long presence of the water, there are alerts which are sent across to the customers. So while the customers may not be physically present at their site, they may not be operating it physically, but immediately, remotely, they would get these particular alerts where they can take corrective actions at their end. Close to 35 of our corporate customers have installed this, and they are really finding the benefits about it. I would request all of the customers who are listening today, who are over here, to get in touch with the relationship teams and inquire about this risk management practice. And this would really help them about maintaining their safety. It would enhance the safety precautions at their plant. I would also like to add, because of the various leakages in these particular hydrants, we did a sample random analysis and we figured out that there's 15 to 20,000 liters of water which we have saved which was happening consistently because of the leakage in these pipes, which was really happening. The next important IoT which we have really built up is an electrical IoT. Again, we all know that close to 40 to 50% of the fires happen because of electrical circuits. And during this particular periods when physical movement is difficult, we have seen electrical fires happening during this particular period. Again, this IoT is a sensor which gets connected to the control panel of the electricity. Multiple panels can be installed over here. And any voltage surge which happens in terms of receiving the power from the grid or from your internal power plants and remote and subsequent circulation to your own plant premises, both of them get tracked. Any voltage surge which really happens across is immediately identified and notified to you, and one can take corrective course of actions. Sure. I'm happy to hear again that there are a couple of fires which we have been able to remotely save because of immediately coming to know about these surges at our end. Right. Both techniques are available where the alerts come to the customers through the SMSs and the messages. And also there's a web-based system where the customers can go and track the kind of alerts which they are getting. And also there are reports which get shared, analyzed and discussed with the customers on a monthly basis. Right. So over to you, Sandeep.
So thanks, Gaurav. I think the kind of work that you and your team are doing is really exciting. You spoke about the drone, technology. You spoke about the electrical IoT. You spoke about the fire hydrant IoT. I think some of these solutions are really cutting edge. And most of the clients who are hearing to all of us, I'm sure they would like to experience some of these products that you have launched. If I look at all the queries which we had got on property segment, I think most of them are kind of covered. But Sanjay and Alok has touched upon a couple of very important aspects, which is important for us to discuss a little bit before we wrap up this event, which is on health and liability. So first, I would want to go to Alok to hear his views on what kind of products that we have launched for the benefit of the employees at large.
Thanks, Sandeep. When this COVID fear came into into existence, we were amongst the first companies to launch a COVID only product, which was a benefit product where if somebody contracted this disease, then he was given a lump sum amount ranging from 25,000 to 1 lakh rupees. And then we went on to launch another product, which was a COVID product on indemnity basis. So where we would cover all the expenses that would be incurred at the hospital if it was COVID related. When I have been speaking to various clients, my recommendation is that if you have taken a cover already, which is a group health cover, then COVID is of course an included disease in that. So anything that is a COVID related expense would be covered in that group health. So my advice to clients has been that you take a top-up cover, because if there is an increased health risk which is there around this time, then it is better to take a top-up cover which covers all risks including COVID. And anyway, clients prefer to take this, increase the sum insured sporadically every 2-3 years. So please take this opportunity to increase your sum insured and take a top-up cover, or directly increase your sum insured if your renewal is coming at this point of time. And that would help you in a case of all diseases, whether it is COVID or something else. But if in case a company has a budgetary constraint and they want to cover only for COVID, then the other two products that I mentioned would be of use to the clients.
Right. So great. I think, Alok, we also have products for COVID only, which is great to hear. On liability again, I would request Sanjay to share his thoughts. I think he just briefly touched upon liability as a risk in his earlier talk. So Sanjay, if you can just share a little bit more in terms of what kind of risk perceptions that you foresee as far as the liability lines of business is concerned.
Yeah, yes, Sandeep, I think so liability, in India has kind of seen very little risk awareness because of the simple fact that our understanding has been liability claims are few and far between. The courts in India deliver judgment, very, very late, and hence litigiousness in our society is low. But, one of the things which COVID has taught us is two things. One is, of course, I mentioned just-in-time issue. So, but philosophically, I think we need to move, and where insurance becomes very important is to just in case something happens. So, in our personal lives, we have all understood just in case, we have like nobody's business. How to, manage a lockdown, how to, just in case lockdown is extended, how do we store provisions? So, just in case as a philosophy is very important from from a risk, thought process, especially when it comes to liability. Liability claims may or may not arise. The question is, just in case if it comes, like a health risk, a pandemic, who thought, but just in case if it comes, we need to be prepared. That's philosophy. So, there is that old saying, it is possible that the impossible will happen. And a pandemic has proved that. It is nowhere, has it been more demonstrated, than the pandemic. The possible, that the impossible. We all heard of the pandemic or an epidemic, keep hearing about SARS, but nobody thought that the impossible would happen. Having said that, so then we philosophically move to just in case kind of thought processes, which basically means that you need to, kind of model your, exposures to liability risk, across all your segments, public liability or, general liability, which in case you are a non-manufacturing company, you need to look at your financial line, exposures, maybe if you are listed, unlisted, what is there from a company board. Corporate governance is becoming so strict. And finally, you need to also worry about things which relate to cyber, which I alluded to earlier. All these risks sometimes can come together. What we have never understood is that risks coming together, liability, all of these risks may come together. Cyber, all of that will come together, and that's where we fail to understand the domino effect of risk. What pandemic has taught us is the domino effect of risk. Pandemic is, across economy as well as the insurance sector, as well as health, as well as property. That's called domino effect. And so this is what it has taught us. So for us, it is very important to start liability coverage in India. You start with very small limits. Do get all your coverages, done. And so just in case something happens, you have something to, in terms of coverage. And as you see the threat perception, and Sandeep, to your point, each sector has different threat perceptions to a pandemic and various other things. Of course, they need to increase coverage. We are good at being able to give you a lot of advice on benchmarking across sectors, what kind of coverage others taking internationally and globally. We could help you along that journey. And the idea is to keep testing the wordings and all that so that you're prepared, with wordings which are, we do that in liability routinely, which is, very, very specific to your industry and maybe to your company, because you may have, coverages which are there. And last but not the least, let's understand in liability, data is going to become very, very important. We have seen GDPR, which is the kind of data privacy rules coming forth in India. It has in Europe, which has very, very strict rules. It is coming through in India. So let us be prepared for it. Liability helps you prepare for you from a data privacy perspective. People are going to be extremely, privacy has been talked about in COVID situation in terms of who's COVID, non-COVID data is being collected. So, privacy on health is going to be extremely important. So liability connects all of these things. So as I'm saying and repeating once again, let us move into just in case something happens.
Yeah. I think great perspective, Sanjay. I think we have covered a wide gamut of topics today. I hope it has not been too heavy for all our listeners. But I think we have done decent justice to various queries and questions which most of our clients had. We have covered the entire range of property risks, marine risks. We touched a little bit on health as well as on liability. So in that sense, we have covered the entire 360 degree of risks which a client might actually face in this current difficult times. So before we wrap up this event for today, I would again want to have, if Alok, Sanjay or Gaurav, if at all you all want to have any last bit of message that you want to leave for the clients. We would be happy to hear your last sentences so that the customers can take back with them. Alok.
Basically, you have to be prepared for any kind of eventuality. So what Sanjay said earlier, that impossible is possible. So something can happen, and therefore you need to be prepared for an eventuality and take necessary steps when it is peacetime, rather than wait for the wartime to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to continue on, Alok's thing on peacetime, that's a very important thing. Insurance is all about peacetime preparation. So you don't get insurance during wartime. Fire is on, you don't get fire coverage. You have to all prepare. Insurance is all about. So let's all start preparing for maybe down the line pandemic pool and various other things or cyber, coverages for various things. Having said that, one important element I would just like, so we are all corporates. Corporate is just an entity. It's all managed by people. So COVID has taught one very, very important thing. There is a key man risk. Each one of us are very key men in running our organizations. Let's be very, very important, very, very clear about key man risk. I'm not saying that you need to take insurance is the only solution to key man risk, but key man risk, who's going to operate what? How do we react to a situation? It's going to be extremely important. It's not going to be paper exercises on BCP and all that. It has come alive for us. Any one of us can get affected. We've seen CEOs going down the one big motor, luxury cars, CEO, died. So those kind of, it's very important to understand. Such crises also bring a lot of schema and risk into the picture, and let's be prepared for that.
Well said, Sanjay. Yes, Gaurav.
So, Sandeep, I would just like to add that I think these are the unprecedented times, and during these unprecedented times, we are there to support customers, whether it's in terms of claim servicing, whether it's in terms of risk management. We are happy to engage with them and provide all our support to them. One important aspect which I just thought I would put it across is it is a good point of time also that customers should reevaluate their risks and reevaluate the coverages what they are buying for those particular risks. While pandemic is one cover, which a lot of discussion is happening between the customers and at the overall level, but there are a lot of other covers which get triggered during this particular period of time. Some of them are not directly as a part of the policy coverages. They are optional covers, they are add-on covers, and customers should evaluate the need of those particular covers. If they have not bought these specific add-on covers, they should really endorse it to the policies moving forward or during their renewal program. That's Sandeep.
So, Sandeep, I just wanted to add one point. On a positive note, this COVID is likely to be a big benefit for India as a country as well. First of all, you know that there are countries which are much worsely affected than India, China being one of them, and there are many countries who are thinking of diversifying out of countries like China. So India might be a beneficiary of that. Secondly, because of when the turnaround happens, it has always been proven in the past that when we have always said that even after the 2008 banking crisis, the turnaround happened very fast. So whatever we might say and the doomsdayer might say, it might so happen that the turnaround will be much faster than what we have originally expected. So that is what is my optimistic. On the optimistic note, I want to conclude this seminar.
Yeah, thanks, Alok, for your positive comments. So it was, I think this is now coming to the end of a very enlightening and engaging session. I would like to once again thank the entire panel of senior dignitaries from ICICI Lombard. And more so, I would like to thank all our customers and audience who have been listening to us. I would like to share with all of you that we have tried our best to address each of the queries and questions that you had given to us. However, in the eventuality that we would have missed out, answering any of those queries, please feel free to share the same to our relationship teams. We will ensure that we will come back to them on a war footing. So I just hope that you would have enjoyed this event as much as I have enjoyed moderating it. Also, to share with you, we will be coming out with various series of various other seminars, covering different diverse topics. So I would request you to stay tuned and stay safe.